Great. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Congressman Connolly, Congressman Mulvaney, for your hard work on this. As one of the Democratic co-leaders of this legislation, I am so proud to rise in support of the Federal Improper Payments Coordination Act of 2015. The goal of this bill is straightforward, simply to save taxpayer dollars that are currently going to waste and to make the federal government more effective and more efficient. Each year, the federal government spends billions of dollars in improper payments. This not only wastes taxpayer dollars, but it also erodes the public trust in government. Just last year, as my colleagues have pointed out, improper payments by the federal government rose to $125 billion. That's more than $1 trillion over a decade. That's according to the Office of Management and Budget. That's also an increase of 15%, just up from the year before, where it was $106 billion. So we're talking about real money here. In tough times, working families have to figure out how to cut costs to get their budgets in line. We all know that. Well, I think it's time that Washington do the same thing. That's why our bill takes reasonable steps to improve information sharing between federal and state agencies to prevent these improper payments. This also helps modernize federal agencies by putting 21st century data analytics to work in identifying and eliminating government-wide waste and fraud. The status quo is plain and simple not acceptable. At a time when so many working families have to tighten their costs, they expect Congress to act responsibly with their hard-earned taxpayer dollars. This bipartisan legislation represents a common-sense approach to a problem that is costing the taxpayers billions of dollars. This is undermining the effectiveness and the credibility of the federal government. Thank you, Congressman Mulvaney. Thank you, Congressman Connolly. I think this is an indication that we know how to work together, and I want to applaud my colleagues for joining our efforts to protect taxpayers. And, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman